Imagine this: you're stopped at a red light, questioned for no reason, or denied service at a counter. It feels routine until suddenly it isn't. What if that one ordinary moment could flip your entire life upside down? Today I bring to you summaries for all the stories for this month. First story. Cops stop black woman at red light. Seconds later, she reveals she's a judge. Judge Lena Mae Washington's late-night encounter with two corrupt Liberty City police officers began as an ordinary traffic stop but quickly unraveled into something far more sinister. Targeted under false pretenses and treated with hostility, Lena revealed her identity, forcing the officers to retreat in fear. What they didn't realize was that her dashcam had recorded everything. The footage not only exposed their misconduct but also revealed deeper cracks in the LCPD, where corruption ran all the way to the top. As Lena presided over a high-profile drug trial, she strategically used the evidence to unravel a network of lies that connected the officers to a powerful captain protecting his criminal brother. The exposure of this corruption brought sweeping reforms to the police department and dismantled the Thorn crime syndicate. Judge Washington's steadfastness turned a moment of personal injustice into a catalyst for systemic change, proving that vigilance and integrity can pierce even the darkest layers of abuse. The morals of the story are clear. Unchecked prejudice and abuse of power can erode trust and justice, but courage, truth, and accountability have the strength to not only protect the innocent but also reform a broken system. Second story. Police question black teen for loitering, then he produces his honor roll report. Jamal Adebayo, a brilliant 17-year-old honor roll student with dreams of MIT, faced a moment of injustice when Officer Davies accused him of loitering and criminal intent simply because of his appearance. Though Jamal calmly presented his school ID and honor roll certificate, exposing the officer's bias, this encounter revealed a deeper web of corruption. Jamal later discovered that Davies and his unit were working with real estate magnate Richard Sterling, using intimidation and false policing to push longtime black residents out of Crestwood so Sterling could profit from redevelopment. Determined to protect his community, Jamal began collecting evidence, aided by his mentor Ms. Sharma and, eventually, Officer Chen, who risked his career to expose the truth from within the police force. At a critical community meeting, Jamal presented his evidence of corruption and abuse, while Chen confirmed Sterling and Davies' conspiracy, preventing a plot to frame Jamal's grandmother and seize her home. Their bravery led to Sterling's arrest, sweeping reforms in the police department, and the preservation of Crestwood through a community land trust. This story underscores powerful lessons. Never judge people by appearances, as hidden brilliance can expose corruption. Prejudice harms both its targets and perpetrators. And true change begins when individuals have the courage to resist injustice and speak truth to power. Third story. He was sentenced to death because of one photo. 14 years later, the truth emerged. Darnell Johnson's life was derailed at just 23 years old when a biased and flawed photo lineup placed him at the center of a crime he did not commit. With no weapon, no fingerprints, and no motive, the prosecution leaned on an uncertain eyewitness and the testimony of a repeat jailhouse informant to secure a conviction. Despite multiple alibi witnesses, Darnell was sentenced to death, his fate sealed not by evidence, but by racial bias and a justice system more concerned with closing a case than uncovering the truth. He spent 14 years behind bars on death row, isolated and fighting desperately to prove his innocence. Through persistence, legal advocacy, and eventual media attention, inconsistencies in the case unraveled. The informant admitted he had lied. Surveillance footage cast doubt on the timeline, and the lineup itself was revealed to be unfairly suggestive. Darnell finally walked free, but no apology or compensation could restore the years stolen from him. The moral of his story is clear: the justice system is fallible, particularly when racism and flawed practices taint its processes. His case stands as a warning that until reforms are made to eyewitness identification, prosecutorial conduct, and systemic racial bias, countless others remain at risk of wrongful conviction. Fourth story. Bank manager doubts black student's loan eligibility, but she's already approved. Tiana Jefferson, a 21-year-old black student from Chicago, worked tirelessly to earn her place at Columbia Law School. After receiving scholarships, she applied for and was approved for a $75,000 private student loan. But when she walked into a Manhattan bank branch to finalize the paperwork, the bank manager, a balding man in his 50s, immediately doubted her eligibility. Despite her approval documents, transcripts, and organized presentation, he dismissed her, questioned her cosigner, and treated her with thinly veiled skepticism. Tiana stayed composed, pulled out her phone with the official approval code, and calmly recorded the entire encounter. His dismissive attitude quickly changed once he realized she had proof and leverage, and eventually he processed her loan. Instead of letting the experience fade, Tiana filed a complaint, documented the discrimination online, and her story went viral, sparking a wider conversation about bias in financial systems. Her courage became a symbol of resilience for students who had faced similar barriers. The moral of the story is clear: always be prepared, document everything, and never shrink yourself in the face of prejudice. Bias may try to question your worth, but the truth and your qualifications speak louder. Stand firm, know your value, and don't let anyone rewrite your narrative. Fifth story: landlord tries to evict black student, but her scholarship turns the tables. A 20-year-old black college student in Atlanta found herself targeted by her landlord, a graying, overweight man in his early 50s. He banged on her door and thrust a crumpled eviction notice in her face. Despite having a full-ride scholarship that covered her rent, a brief delay in her payment gave him an excuse to threaten eviction. Behind his words lurked a bigger scheme. He'd been losing rent payments on paper to kick tenants out early and re-rent units at higher prices. But what he didn't know was that Tiffany, a scholarship office, had already wired the money, exposing his lie. When she presented the proof to the university housing office, legal action quickly followed, with attorneys and a city inspector confronting the landlord. His intimidation unraveled into fraud charges, and the student turned her struggle into empowerment by helping others learn their rights. The moral is clear: silence feeds exploitation, but knowledge and documentation protect the vulnerable. Always keep records, stand firm against injustice, and never underestimate how quickly truth can flip the balance of power. Sixth story: they tried to bribe her. One woman's battle against a corporate giant. Clara's journey began in a small coal mining town where she witnessed her father lose everything after a devastating accident, and a powerful corporation denied accountability. The injustice etched into her childhood never left her, shaping her resolve to escape, build her own business, and stand on her own terms. Years later, after pouring her heart into a thriving furniture company, she faced another corporate giant, Omnicorp, using manipulative tactics to choke her out of existence. Believing in the justice system, she took them to court, only to have her case dismissed. That crushing moment reminded her of her father's despair, but instead of succumbing to defeat, Clara chose to fight back in her own way. She turned her story into a movement, sharing her experiences online under the hashtag #MyGavelStory, which quickly became a platform for countless others who had been silenced by systemic injustice. With the power of a united community, Clara returned to court stronger than ever, not just as one woman, but as the voice of many. Her victory against Omnicorp wasn't just personal, it was a triumph for collective strength and accountability. The moral of her story is clear: even when systems are stacked against you, resilience and unity can break down walls of power. One voice may be ignored, but a chorus of voices cannot. Seventh story: evicted until a hidden deed changed everything. True story of the Millers versus greedy landlord. A greedy landlord in Liberty City thought he could easily evict a hardworking family from their home, but his scheme backfired when the Millers uncovered a powerful secret buried in their ancestry. What began as harassment, false accusations, and intimidation spiraled into a courtroom showdown where a 10-year-old boy revealed an 1878 deed proving his family's rightful ownership of the land. The revelation didn't just save their apartment, it exposed a corrupt real estate empire, toppled powerful figures, and restored stolen property to the community. At its heart, this story shows that injustice, no matter how deeply hidden, can be exposed by courage, persistence, and truth. The Millers turned their victory into a legacy by protecting their neighborhood through a community trust, proving that greed cannot erase history and that resilience can reclaim it. The moral: never underestimate the strength of heritage, the power of unity, and the justice that comes when truth finally comes to light. 8th story. Cashier refuses to serve Black woman. She flashes her police badge and shuts it down. Angela Moore, a 35-year-old detective in Dayton, Ohio, walked into a grocery store on an ordinary Saturday evening. Dressed in simple jeans and a dark hoodie, she blended in with the crowd, unnoticed except by a young cashier. When it was Angela's turn to pay, the cashier refused to serve her, coldly saying she didn't serve certain people. Shoppers froze as tension filled the air, but Angela remained calm. Instead of reacting in anger, she quietly pulled out her badge and revealed she was a detective, instantly shifting the power in the room. The cashier's smirk faded, the manager rushed over, and witnesses began recording as Angela firmly reminded everyone that discrimination is more than bad service, it is a civil rights violation. The incident went viral, the cashier was fired, and the store released an apology. But for Angela, it was about more than just one confrontation, it was about the ripple effect. By standing firm with outrage, she exposed bias, inspired others, and proved that respect costs nothing but carries enormous weight. The moral of the story: never judge someone based on appearances, because you never know who you're dealing with, and always stand up against discrimination when you see it. 9th story. Security accuses Black man of trespassing, then he unveils the deed. A Black man named Marcus finally achieves his lifelong dream of home ownership after years of struggle, sacrifice, and perseverance. This story isn't just about one confrontation, it's about history, legacy, and the fight for dignity. Marcus stood not only for himself but for generations before him who were denied ownership and Bellin. The moral is simple yet powerful: never let prejudice dictate your worth. Never let ignorance erase your victories, and always stand firm in the truth you've earned. 10th story. She spoke out against injustice. What happened next will leave you speechless. Sarah Miller was just an ordinary waitress in a small Ohio town until one night changed everything. When two officers falsely accused a young man at her diner, Sarah stood up and defended him, breaking the silence her town had lived under for years. That single act of courage cost her dearly. She lost her job, was harassed, and even had her home vandalized. But instead of backing down, she went louder, sharing her story with the world, and her voice sparked protests, investigations, and real change. The moral of Sarah's story is clear: injustice thrives in silence, but even one voice can shake an entire system. Courage doesn't always look grand. It can be a single person saying, "This isn't right." Her fight reminds us that speaking out comes with risk. But it also carries the power to inspire others and start movements. Always remember, your voice matters more than you think. 11th story. Emily Carter, a young photographer from Ohio, stumbled onto something she was never meant to see when she snapped a picture inside an abandoned textile factory. The shot revealed a mysterious figure, a man in overalls lurking in the shadows of a place believed to be empty. What began as an eerie but harmless post online quickly spiraled into warnings from faceless accounts, unexplained knocks, and the chilling sense that she was being watched. Within 2 weeks, Emily vanished without a trace, leaving behind one last blurry photo of her bedroom window, with the same shadowy figure standing outside. The story of Emily is a haunting reminder that some mysteries should never be poked at, and not every picture should be taken. Curiosity can uncover truths we aren't prepared to face, and sometimes evidence can draw danger closer instead of keeping us safe. The moral: respect the unknown, trust your instincts, and think twice before chasing clicks over caution, because some images don't just capture the moment, they capture you. These stories remind us that the line between ordinary life and extraordinary battles is razor thin. One moment of courage can expose corruption, dismantle injustice, and even save lives. But sometimes, curiosity opens doors that should have stayed shut. Now I want to hear from you. Which story shook you the most? Which one inspired you? And do you think you would have had the courage to stand up like they did? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more powerful true stories like these, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell because you never know what story we'll uncover next.